we spoke about Title VII, Equal Protection Clause and 14th Amendment, and derivation of such legislation due to the oppression of enslaved people, primarily of African ancestry. Now, without diverting, another way that I find myself kind of not thinking in groupthink or not being monolithic, I don't necessarily find slave history to be, and I must say this delicately, don't jump on me, because anything we say now, we're subject to being trolled or booted from someplace. So I'm saying this with all due respect and being very careful. And I'm not going to make some type of Kanye West statement about slavery, so don't worry. But I will say this, and I didn't mean to say Kanye West in a way that would cause me or Lawline to be sued. I'm stating to statements that were stated in the media. So as lawyers, we disclaim everything. Now, slavery did not only include African descent people. There is a history in the United States that's not often discussed, but there were indentured servants and white slaves. There were also Native American slaves. Basically, slavery was economic, but the cruelty and the discrimination, and of course, the original impetus, in my humble opinion, for slavery was to transport slaves during the transatlantic slave trade from Africa. But there were also slaves from Europe, and there were enslaved people who were already here in the States. So some Native Americans were enslaved, some whites were enslaved, some African Americans were enslaved, and probably anybody else that there could be a profit. Remember, at the core of slavery was economics. But the ugliness of slavery is the racism and discrimination, which no one would probably argue was harshness, brutality, and targeted towards African Americans. So have I redeemed myself by stating Equal Protection Clause, the reason why it could permissibly include distinctions of law based on race or color, notwithstanding African descent people suffered the most, discriminated against then and now. But remember, it also included any group of peoples, and I use the S for emphasis, not because I'm engaging in bad English. I do believe in speaking the King's English, but people were enslaved of different races and colors in the United States, primarily African American. So when we have now the passing of the Equal Protection Clause and the 14th Amendment Clause, remember, initially slated after slavery, but it's for all persons, whether colored or white. With that being said, remember, more than African Americans were enslaved. Now, some people may get upset because I said that, but when I read the history and understood as a woman of African American ancestry, and this is my humble opinion, please don't troll me or hate me, it made me feel sad for my African American people and sad for all people who were enslaved, but it also helps me to understand that not only were African Americans dehumanized. Now, how do we apply that to today? Not only do African Americans are deserving of protection. Now, make that complex. African Americans are still discriminated against, but for DEI and affirmative action, students such as myself might not have ever become a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, or any other member of a learned profession. So I never bite the hand that feeds me in any instance, including affirmative action and DEI, because I benefited. But I also do not want to warp the topic and take a polemic stance and not provide a full picture, right? So the full picture is equal protection for all. Notwithstanding the fact there should be, in my opinion, special deference to African American students because our ancestors have suffered in my humble opinion, the most of all groups in the United States and globally as well.